Thanks, welcome everyone, and thanks very much for coming along to this workshop, particularly as we're sharing a time slot with this incredibly nail-biting US presidential result coming in. Today we're going to talk about two community projects that focus on breathing, lung health and air pollution. Both projects are based in Nairobi, Kenya, and both utilise participatory and arts-based methodologies. And firstly, a big thank you to Charlotte, Carla and Nolwazi for convening this online symposium.
Great, thanks Cressida. So I'm just going to introduce the AIR Network, which was a project that brought myself, Megan, Cressida, Cindy and many other people together. So it was a project that was run by Stockholm Environment Institute at the University of York. It ran between 2017 and 2018. It was a very small 18-month project, excuse me, funded by the Medical Research Council and the Arts and Humanities Research Council, and it brought together research partners representing environmental sciences, arts and humanities from the UK, Kenya and Sweden, and community members from Makuru Informal Settlement in Nairobi. This workshop is inspired by and contains outputs from that project. And then there was spin-out projects since then. It was a network building grant, so the aim was to have other projects. And one of those projects was Tupamue, which you will also hear about later. So the four of us are going to be kind of running this show. So we've got lots of different activities to be doing and we need to kind of move things forward, but hopefully it should be fun for everybody. So Cindy.
Yeah, so I'm Cindy Gray and I'm from the University of Glasgow in Scotland, and with Cressida, I joined the AIR Network, and then with Cressida I co-led the sensitization project for the Tupamue grant. I just would like to raise the facts that throughout this workshop, or the first half of it, we're going to be co-creating a digital story. And what Megan is going to do is take all our work together and then post it online for open access after the workshop. So just to be aware, if you don't want your voice or sound recordings or text or images or anything that you do with your digital story posted online, could you just let us know and we will add it to the edit, which Megan is going to do in the second half of the workshop. So please just put something in the chat if you don't want to be included in that final edit, but you can still participate in the workshop. That's not a problem, just let us know.
Great, so I'm just going to be sticking a poll into the chat screen, so if you could all go through to that link now, and you should be able to click through and see the 4 questions that are there. So we want to really find out where you are at with your knowledge about digital storytelling and music and your confidence in relation to that, and we'll be repeating the poll at the end of the session. So if you could fill that in, that would be brilliant. Let me know if that link doesn't work for anybody.
I'm getting a permissions message with that link.
Oh no! Oh,
I don't know if anyone else is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, also getting a permissions message.
Oh, sorry, everybody. I have no idea why that is happening.
It just when you go to the document or the form and you say get link, I think it says whether the link is available to everyone.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so you should now be able to click on that same link again. And it should be, it tells me I have updated my permissions, so hopefully it will work. Cressida, can you have a check for me?
Yeah, it wasn't working that time.
You might need to refresh.
Yeah, I've gone back in.
No, okay. Okay, well, let's just, okay, let's just do it instead. We're going to do it on Zoom. So if you could please go to your, can you see where it says participants? Oh, hang on, you haven't got that enabled either. Never mind, we won't do it like that either. I'll just quickly send a new poll while we start introducing the next bit of the session. So, first of all, in the AIR network, we started our workshop with an icebreaker, and an icebreaker is a really nice way to get to know each other, get to know people's understandings of the situation. And this was right at the very beginning of the project. So we brought together all of the UK, Sweden and Kenya research partners and community members in Nakuru, and we held a workshop to think about what we knew about air pollution and explore each other's understandings of it. And we are going to do a very similar icebreaker to the icebreaker that we used then. So our icebreaker that we're going to do, I hope you have with you a piece of paper and a pen. If you could quickly find yourself something if you have not got one already. And what I'd like you to do is to think about the question, when the air around you is clean, what does your breath feel like? So if you could draw or write an answer. Thanks, Megan. If you could draw or write an answer to this question on your piece of paper. So when the air around you is clean, what does your breath feel like? And we'll give everybody a minute or so to do this while I try and work out my poll.
Welcome, Neil. We've started the workshop, but basically this is the icebreaker question. If you can write down on a piece of paper your either an image or a written response to this prompt. Please write in large letters if you can. Wonder if people have had time for that if they go into the breakout rooms. Or do we do the, okay,
So,
we'll,
yeah,
we'll do the posting first.
Yeah, so just before you... Sorry, I muted myself. Just before you go out into the breakout rooms, we're going to get you to hold up your drawing or your picture to the camera. And Megan is going to take a screenshot of this for later use. So if you hold it up like this.
Oh, it's back. I need to.
Okay, let's see. So this is a point where if you would prefer that your face, because we're going to include this image in our final digital story. So if you don't want your face in, just hold it in front of your face, and then your face doesn't need to appear. Okay? So, and plus we want the words to be nice and big, where we're just waiting on Nowazi. Holiswa, do you have one? Okay, I'm going to take...
Natasha, you might want to use yours slightly, move it slightly closer to the camera because it's, yeah,
That's
lovely.
better.
Maybe slightly further back.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me see that. That was interesting. I had to hold my agenda in my teeth to be able to press the print screen. Okay, that looks pretty awesome. I would like as well to just go one by one, and I'm just going to take a screenshot of each of your responses.
So Lisa's, sorry.
Oh, Holiswa, you're there. Okay, let's do another one.
Yeah.
With everyone's, because we've got Holiswa's. I have to find mine now.
Get your teeth ready again.
Get my teeth ready. Okay. Okay, let's see.
Brilliant.
That looks awesome, guys. Okay, great. And I just want to do some individual ones, okay? So we're kind of building a bank of images and things that we might mash up in our digital story a bit later.
So while Megan is asking you to do your photo, if you're not one of those people, if you could try and go to the link that I've just sent to give the answers to the poll, and that would be great. Thank you. And let me know if it doesn't work.
Okay, let's start with you, Sarah, quickly. Awesome. Yeah, okay. Cindy? Oh. Okay. Carla? Okay. Move it over just a little. Yeah, like awesome. That's cool. Great. Sorry, I skipped you, Cressida. Cressida? Lovely. Okay, who's next on my list here? Mark? All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Charlotte? Yes, another fish. Okay. Howard? Wicked. Great, thank you. Natasha? Oh, hold on, Natasha, just hold light. Okay, brilliant. Okay, then we've got Neil. Lovely. Okay, Nolazi. Lemons, I love it. Okay, and Holiswa. Oh, Holiswa's lemons. What was, did I skip? Nolazi. Sorry about that. Okay, I've got you, Holiswa. That's great. Thank you.
Light.
Pardon?
I had light.
Okay, I need you again. Sorry. Awesome. Thanks. Got that. Brilliant. And then last but not least, do I have a last but not least? Let me just check. No, that's it. Okay, I've got them all. Wicked. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll hand it back to Sarah here.
Great, thank you. So we are going to send you out into little breakout rooms, which is exactly what we did at the workshop. So we went into small little groups to talk about our experiences and what we've put on our pieces of paper. So Cindy is going to send people out into a little group. So you'll probably be in a group of 2 or 3 people. And we just want you in that just to have a bit of a chat about what your picture shows you. How you felt about that.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, a lot of people have written words rather than pictures, like myself. So just the reasons why you wrote that word. And we're going to give you about 5 minutes to do that. I'm just going to press the room now, and you should see an invitation. I'll give you a warning in about a minute before we come out, and then you'll get a kind of countdown when we want you to come back into the room. So you should all get an invitation to join a breakout room. Please just do that, and we'll see you back in about 5 minutes.
Hello, Howard. Hi, Natasha.
Hi.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello, Cressida.
Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Howard. How are you?
I'm fine.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So, our words.
So not much chat here yet. I think the whole idea is this should be a discussion about what you, your word or your image that you chose. So maybe Howard, you could start. Why did you choose what you did?
Probably it's because I have personal experiences with the breathing difficulties. So if I'm in a smoky place, I usually have extreme breathing difficulties. But if I'm in a place with clean air, I usually feel much better. I feel like my chest is lighter, so I actually feel much lighter. I feel awesome. That's why I put it like that. With hands in the air. Yeah, I feel better in clean air than not so clean air. Yeah,
Brilliant.
so I usually feel awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave this room and go into another room now. So if everybody else wants to just continue and justify or ask Howard a bit more about his reasons, that would be great. I'll leave you to continue the discussion.
So, Charlotte,
Hi. Thanks, Howard.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to say, I wanted to tag on to that. My words were light, refreshing, pleasant, and happy. This was supposed to be the breath and trees, because I go camping quite a bit, and and walking in nature, and immediately I can feel the difference. Like the air smells different, I feel different. It feels lighter, happier, which I think was similar to what you were saying. Just healthy, you feel better when you're in a cleaner space or cleaner air.
I wrote fresh, and mainly I grew up in Kimberley, which is the Northern Cape, and it's a very small city, but lots of fresh air. And every time we went to visit our family in Johannesburg, one of the first things we said when we arrived back in Kimberley, like, oh, it's fresh here, because the air was just so much cleaner. And to me, still, if I walk out somewhere and it's got clean air, it's the first thing I think of. It's fresh. In Afrikaans, we say it's vars. which just sounds fresh. Yeah, that's why I said fresh.
Okay, and I said invigorating, which is kind of for a similar reason actually to you, Charlotte. It's like, and today it's a beautiful day here, and the air is really crispy and quite cold. And when you go outside and breathe it in, you breathe in deeply, and you get that kind of flood of oxygen into your body, and it really gives you energy and makes you feel invigorated.
Yeah.
So I could add that when I'm in probably a smoky room or a place where it's a bit dusty, I usually sneeze a lot. So in my house, I'm usually the indicator of dust levels in the house. If I just get in and I start to sneeze, then everybody knows that there's either dust or there's some smoke, yeah, somewhere. So quite sensitive to smoke and dust and pollen. But where there are trees, I usually just feel quite free, quite invigorated, as Chris says. Yeah, yeah.
Do you find it's worse sometimes than other times, Howard?
Yeah, sometimes probably when I'm in traffic and smoke from another vehicle gets into the car, I really sneeze so much until the nose, or let me say the nasal part, becomes almost inflamed. It's even painful sometimes, yeah, when you sneeze too much. Yeah, so sometimes it feels like that.
So do we maybe have to decide now which picture we're going to take forward?
I don't think we have to do that. I think it's just a discussion. Anyway,
Okay.
we're about to get thrown out.
Yes.
We're going to be ejected in a minute.
Great, thanks everybody. We had a really nice conversation about lemons in our group. I imagine that everyone will have had very different conversations depending on kind of what words and images you use to prompt.
But I think we should probably move right along. I think for the digital story segment, we'll start on that. And we just want to open up by showing you a digital story that was created as part of the AIR Network project to kind of set the scene. So Cressida is going to play that for you. Just be sure to unmute it there, Cressida. It's muted on your YouTube.
Can you see the video? Yeah.
Can see it, but I can see there's an X through your YouTube sound. Do you see that?
I'm a resident of Mukuru. My name is Dennis Waweru. I'm a resident of Mukuru, Viwandani, since the day I was born. In Mukuru, we face a lot of challenges in terms of pollution because first, we are surrounded by polluting industry, dirty river, where all the drainages of the factory within the community end up to our river. We also have a dumping site within the community. So all the time we have burning of garbages from all over the county, others from hospitals, chemical industry, big estates, and many other places. In Mukuru, pollution is the first challenge that affects people mostly. So you found most of the children not going to school because of the effect they get during the process of burning of trashes. Bad smoke from companies, dirty environment. The other pollution is within our houses because most of the houses in Mukuru, they use charcoal or kerosene in terms of preparing meals and breakfast. So you end up inhaling the bad smell that comes out of your stove or lamp. And that smell from your stove kills you day by day slowly. So let's be our brother's keeper to raise awareness of the pollution in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this was a digital story that the mini project group I was working on. So I was a member of the AIR network, and I was assigned to a group made up mostly of community representatives from Nakuru. And their task was to look at raising awareness about air pollution. And we're using some traditional methods and more visual, creative methods to look at what did people think were the sources and the effects of air pollution in Nakuru. So one of the things that we did was this digital stories. So Dennis is a photographer, and he likes, you know, his medium is mostly photography. So he took the photos that you saw, and then I worked with him to kind of develop this digital story. So today we're going to try something very similar here in this space. I want to just give you an overview of what was presented to Dennis. So one of the challenges of the AIR Network project was that we had an initial meeting kind of for 5 days in Mukuru, and then everything after that had to happen remotely in terms of my involvement. So that was really different than a traditional digital story workshop, which I learned the method from Selena Mudavanyu when I was at Cape Town. Her and I were both postdocs there, and she gave a 5-day digital storytelling workshop. That's kind of how the traditional method happens, right? You reserve people's time and space, and over 5 days, even people with very, you know, minimal computer skills can actually create a 2 to 3 minute video in 5 days in person, with all the resources under one roof, okay? In this project, we had to work completely remotely and over like a period of a couple months to build this thing up. So I'm going to show you a little bit what we did with Dennis. Hold on just a second. Yeah, because just make sure I've got the right version here. A lot going on my screen at the moment. Yeah, okay. So I prepared this while I was, I forget where I was sitting. I was like a nomad at the time. But we had another partner in the group, Casild, who was in Nairobi. So she held an in-person workshop day. And part of that workshop was the digital storytelling component. So this is the preparation that Dennis got to be able to go on and produce his digital story. I'm going to go through it really quickly. I'm very happy to share these slides with people, but I really want us to get down to the practical, getting our hands dirty, doing the method. But this is the introduction. So it's about, you know, why storytelling, that storytelling is such an important part of social life in all cultures, that this is a way that we communicate ideas and histories. We don't only hear stories and read stories, we see stories too, kind of in our everyday lives. And to think about, well, who is telling the stories about us and about where we live? And so digital storying is a pushback in a way to sort of traditional modes of media and reporting. You know, for example, stories about a place or people told through radio or television or online news. So the difference here is you're telling your own story about your own life. And with the internet and digital tech, that's made this so much more possible, right? And when we say digital, what do we mean? We mean that it's a story that can be shared by computer, okay? And it can be watched on phones, it can be watched on laptops. It's, you know, it requires a quality of sound and image that is much less than if you were sort of disseminating it on the big screen or via radio. So it's much more accessible and shareable and can take on kind of a life of its own. So the point in this project was to make a 2 to 3 minute video that could be watched on the internet and seen by anyone, and that it would be for non-commercial purposes. So the first step is to write the story. And this is an important part of the classical digital storytelling method, which is that it's all based around a script. So you could hear that Dennis was telling a story that he himself had written. So the script writing is kind of the first step. And for about a 2 to 3 minute video, you'd be writing about 300 words. Today, we're going to do each of us maybe 10 to 15 second clips. So we're talking about 1 sentence or 2 sentences, and then we're going to put them all together. One of the tools for doing this, once you've got a script, so I've written my script, is now to do the storyboarding technique. So this is like a director of a film or a play or a music video, where you would actually start to break out your story into scenes. And you would decide what images and sounds will accompany the story. And so I've prepared some storyboard sheets. I wonder if someone in the team, maybe Sarah, could you post the link to the storyboard template? I put it in our shared Google document.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can download that template, and we're going to use that, okay? You know, here's an example of the storyboard. Actually, I'm going to show you a different example. I'll skip. This is the example I gave to Dennis, but I prepared a different example for you today, okay? But essentially what you're doing in the storyboard is you're saying, okay, this is what the scene is. Here's what I'm going to hear in this scene, i.e. my own voice, what part of the story. And then I think, well, what kind of image or video do I want people to see when they're listening to this section of the story? And so you're thinking about, well, what images or video or sounds or background music you would like to accompany. Okay. Once you have a complete storyboard, you can begin production. So you need to first audio record yourself as you read your script, as you read your story. Then you need to edit the audio of your story, mixing in sounds and music, for example, and then setting your audio file to the images. In a program like WeVideo, which I'm going to talk to you about today, this happens a little bit more simultaneously, whereas in the workshop, at least that we did in Cape Town, first you kind of worked on the soundscape, and then you set the soundscape to images. So yeah, we used WeVideo, which is not a free software, but it's quite affordable, and it's got different types of licenses, including educational licenses. So the idea was that I would send Dennis Weche, he goes by those 2 names, the email to link into the WeVideo. And that he'd have to be on the internet, that he'd have to have a pair of headphones, and that he would receive some money to pay to use a computer, for example, at an internet cafe, and that I would be able to log into WeVideo because it's an online platform at the same time as him and offer him some real-time support. And we also had WhatsApp, so that was the idea. We'd be able to also simultaneously communicate by WhatsApp. So big question is, where will the images and the sound come from? So in Dennis's case, he made the photos. So that was simple. He took his own photographs, or you can borrow photographs. But of course, you have to be very mindful of using royalty-free images and images that you're actually allowed to use and recreate and then distribute. So that takes a little bit of thought and care. Then with the audio recording, we're going to use this software that allows you to audio record directly into the software, which is pretty awesome. But one of the issues Dennis and I had was getting Dennis on a computer at the right time and kind of facilitating that. So in the end, that didn't work for Dennis. So what he did is he borrowed a voice recorder from one of the persons doing interviews in the community as part of this project, and he just voice recorded himself on an audio recorder, and then that file was transferred to me. And then it's the editing, right? So we have this program, and that's the kind of putting it all together and mishmashing, and you know, that's in the case with Dennis. Our hope was that I could work on it real time with him and assist him to do this editing via the WeVideo platform. But in the end, the barriers were too great to be able to do that. So in the end, I produced the video. So I produced his video. So the product is very much one of co-production, right? If we had been in person, I have absolutely no doubt that Dennis could have done the whole thing, as I've seen other people do. I mean, but there were many challenges to be working remotely. So yeah, so that's just some other bits about software and about, you know, the issues to think about with formatting. You know, sometimes you need to spend a little bit of time getting your materials into the right formats. You'll see that today our process will be quite simple, so we don't have to worry so much about that. So this is what we asked you to write now. You know, sorry, we asked you to think about how you would describe your breath when the air is clean. For this digital story now, what we want you to think about is the story you would tell about the indoor or outdoor air pollution you've experienced and the impact it had on your breathing. So rather than write a full 300-word story, we're asking you just to write the first sentence or the first couple of sentences of that story. The way that we're going to proceed today, similar to how kind of I co-produced with Dennis, is you're going to write the first line of the script or first lines. You're going to try to include in that sentence the mention of the source of the air pollution and the impact it had on your breath. You're going to record your voice reading the script and other sounds that you might want to include. And you're going to start just looking for a couple images or videos that you'd like to include in the digital story. Then you're going to, in the second half of this workshop, I'm going to produce a video, okay? I feel like I'm on like The Apprentice or something, like I've got 1 hour and I've got to produce something, but I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to bring it all together, the bits and pieces that everyone's produced, and produce something. And we're going to watch that something at the end, okay? So just to show you here, so this is an example of my sentence, okay? So my first sentence or first couple sentences of a story is this, okay? So I once had a fireplace that blew smoke into the house. God, I hated it. My breath would become shallow and I would have a dry cough the next day. So that's what I want you to do is write something of a similar length, okay, for the digital story. And then use the storyboard template. And we're going to do that just now, just give you 1 or 2 minutes, just as an exercise of thinking through what it involves. So here you see the storyboard template. I've put my scene. So my scene I've called indoor air pollution. There's the voiceover text. So that's what you're going to hear me say in that moment of the video. So that's the piece of text. And then I think about, well, what image or video should I have accompany this piece of text? And I think, well, it might be nice to have a fireplace. And then what kind of sounds? And I thought, well, maybe I want the sound of shallow breath or a dry cough, and also maybe the sound of a crackling fire. Okay. So just to go through just to have that experience of going through that process of storyboarding, that's what I would invite you to do. So you want to write the script, think about the image, and think about the sounds, okay? So let's just do 2 minutes, just everyone on their own, to try to do that, okay? And then you can do more, but let's just take 2 minutes and everyone can try storyboarding a little bit, okay, in your own time. Okay. I'm going to stop you there just because I know you're going to be given now a kind of 20-minute spot to work on this, so you can continue in that time. But just to give that space where you could actually think about what the process would be of storyboarding. What you're going to do now, and this is quite what would I say? I don't know. Sort of daring, is that we have this idea that we're all going to simultaneously log into WeVideo using my account, and you're each going to actually record yourself saying that sentence or two of your story and start exploring some of the images and bringing in images. You're not going to do production. What you're really doing is kind of creating the materials, and then I will do production afterwards. So what I want everyone to do is to go to wevideo.com in their browser. Use Chrome if you have it, but it also works in other browsers. But if you have the option, use Chrome. And go to login, click login in the top right corner. Okay. Can I get a nod? Maybe Sarah, I can see you. So can you nod when you're sort of there? Okay. Not easy for me to look at the chat at the same time. Okay. So when you click login, you're going to see a page like this that asks you for the email and the password. So put in my email address as the email address, m.j.wainwright@durham.ac.uk. And the password is breath, but it's a small b, not a big B. I should change that. Okay, you in? Great. Okay. If anyone has any problems in any of these steps, please write in the chat box, and Cressida, Cindy, and Sarah are kind of monitoring that and can give you a hand, and I can come in if you've got some big problems. Okay, so what you're going to see when you come into the project is you're going to see this, this toolbar at the top of the screen, and you're going to see projects. Click on projects. Then make sure you've clicked on my projects in the left-hand toolbar. And then you should see this long list of participants. It's much longer than this now because there's about 14 of you in there. And locate your name. Find your name and double click on it. When you double click on it, your name, it'll ask you to click start. Do so. Just click the start button, and then you will look at a screen that looks a little bit like this. Okay, not like one of them here. So what I've done for you guys to help is I've created a little instruction video. So in your own time, you're going to watch the instruction video, which is about 5 minutes long, and then you're going to go right into trying to do what the instruction video tells you to do. Okay, and so this is a bit of an experiment. So when you've opened up your project, you'll see that you have a folder that says My Exports. Double click on My Exports, and you're going to see a video here that says Instructions. Click on Instructions, so click on it so that it's highlighted in blue, and then further on the right, there's like a black TV screen, and then click the play button in the middle. It will take a couple seconds to start. Okay, so it'll look like it's not playing, but it will play. It just begins after about 4 seconds or so. Okay. So the idea here is that we're going to let you run free with this. Okay. You're going to watch the instructions video, and then you're actually going to try to do what the instructions video tells you, which is essentially record your voice and pick a couple images or sounds. Okay. And then we're going to come back here in 20 minutes. Is that okay, Sarah? Yeah. Okay, so that would be, I'll write the time in the chat box, that will bring everyone back. We're going to mute everyone so that you're not interfered by the sounds of other people. And then if you have any issues, text us in the chat box. I was also wondering, Cindy, whether you could create a breakout room that people could join. I don't know. We can decide that. Otherwise, we're just going to support you through the chat, okay? And we'll see how we go. All right. So with that, I'm going to let you get
if
started.
You want me to, if you want me to, I can just click a breakout room now, and you don't have to join it unless you want to go. What's the purpose of the breakout room, Megan?
The breakout room would be where if they needed to talk through an issue, they wouldn't interrupt anyone else sitting in the main meeting.
Okay, well, I can put people into breakout rooms again.
Just one breakout room, and they only need to be there. They only need to join it if they have to talk to someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there'll be someone, probably myself. You can put me in the breakout room. I'll sit there and I can help people.
So
okay.
Everybody will get an invite, but don't use the invite unless you want to go and speak to somebody.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so good luck. See you back in 20 minutes. I hope you're excited and have fun.
Hello.
So Megan, I've closed the breakout room, so everybody should be coming back in here soon.
Okay, that's great. So everyone, just to remind you, I should have said this before I broke you guys off, but I only discovered it this morning, right before the workshop, just to add clarity that when you're finished, you're not going to click the finish button. You're not exporting your video. It's you're just recording yourself, putting in some images, and then click the projects tab at the top of your screen. The WeVideo automatically saves every so often. So if you click projects and it asks you to save, then just say save. If it doesn't ask you to save, it's because it's already saved it. And that's all you need to do.
Sorry, how do we put images? We need to put attention to follower.
I beg your pardon?
How do we put images in
So the images were, so the instructions for bringing in images was in that instructions video, but if you haven't done it so far, don't worry. You can watch the instructions video later if you want to see how it's done. But the most important thing for me was the voice, that you all recorded your voice. Okay. All right.
Great.
Excellent. So I'm going to disappear and try to put things together. So thank you very much. And I'll be back at the end. And now we're going to move into the second part of the workshop.
Brilliant, thanks Megan. So we're slightly pushed for time, but I am going to give everybody a 5-minute break now because that was a bit of intense video making time. So we're going to break and we're going to come back at about, well, on my clock, 23 minutes past. So literally just time to go and have a wee and have a cup of tea if you need to do that. So 25 minutes past, we'll reconvene and then we're going to move on to talking about music. If you come back before the break, I think I've worked out my poll. Hooray! And so there'll be a little poll in the chat screen. So if you could complete that poll, that would be wonderful. So yeah, so go and have a break and we'll see you all at about 25 minutes past for the next section about music.
Hello. Sarah, so just checking, I just tried to fill in the poll and it's saying the form is in the owner's trash.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to send the poll later.
Okay.
I realised that actually it was better to do it later. Natasha, the session will end at midday. All right, so we're going to get started again in a minute. If you wouldn't mind just kind of putting your video on for a second, just so I know that people are here, that would be wonderful. At the moment, I'm just talking into the ether, and my cat has joined us. It's cold here in the UK, and so she just decides that she wants to sit on me all the time, which is incredibly frustrating, and she's very fluffy. Yeah, wonderful, lovely to see everybody coming back. So Cressida, when you are ready, you can get started, please.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
And you can hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, hi again, everyone. My name's Cressida Bowyer. I'm a senior research fellow working at the University of Portsmouth and part of the AIR network team with Sarah, Cindy and Megan. And I want to talk to you about a research project that we're involved with at the moment, which is called Tupamui. Now, Tupamui, which is Swahili for let us breathe, is a study that aims to find out how many children in 2 communities in Nairobi, Kenya have lung problems, and to explore children's experience of lung problems and air pollution. So we're looking at the lung health of children aged 5 to 18 years old from 2 areas in Nairobi, the informal settlement of Makuru and an adjacent but more affluent area called Buruburu. In total, we will be recruiting more than 2,000 children to the study. So in order to recruit these numbers, it's really important that the community know what we're doing, understand what the study aims are and how the data will be collected. Cindy and I applied for some Wellcome Trust funding to support the project to run a sensitisation campaign for engaging the community with the project in order to support the recruitment process. And we worked with our team of local lung health champions to devise and deliver a project sensitisation campaign. And we used a range of different creative methods, including puppetry, games, visual arts and music. And you can see in the slide on the bottom right that we actually used puppetry to demonstrate exactly what the data collection process was going to be. Within the project, we want to get an idea of everyday experiences of lung problems and air pollution, and we're going to ask about 300 primary school children to bring in items that they link to air pollution and use art or storytelling to describe their lived experience. And the results of this study will be fed back to the community using these creative methods. We'll be using music, comics, puppetry, murals, and digital storytelling. So I'd now like to show you a music video that we made, which the song itself and the lyrics are about explaining the project, but also talking about lung health in general, and it's kind of about empowering the local community and making change as well. But the music video also showcases some of the methods that we used when we were carrying out the sensitization program. Sorry, I now just have to find the video. Here we go. I hope this is going to work, this version. No, okay, I'll have to go to the other version. Excuse me.
It's emoji on the beat.
We can't see it, Cressida, we can just hear it.
Cressida, could you share your screen? We can't see it.
Sorry. Right, I'm sharing the old screen. Is that good? Yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
It's emoji on the beat.
Maisha fiti na riziki langovo imekuwa ngori na hakuna mtu wa kutotoa kwa bori, labda tumespiri atutowe kwa ngori ili tuishi hii maisha bila bori. Pumua fiti, ishi fiti, pumua fiti, ishi fiti.
Pumua fiti, ishi fiti, maisha bora wazee kwa vijana. Pumua hewa safi, fanya kazi kwa bidii, wazee kwa vijana. Wasafi maisha marefu. Wasafi maisha marefu.
Come on, let's join on to come down, listen, CD. Come on, let's join on to increase immortality. Pumua fiti, ishi fiti, maisha fiti, 50-50. Taweka full look comfortable. This a matter of course and sit down around table. Tunataka tujue nini mbaya na lanza Mwafrika. Watoto wanakufa wakiwa wayanga. Figure percentage problem ni la. Come on, let's join on time. Increase immortality rate. Come on, let's join on time. Rambla on listen CD. Na nyumbani barabarani hata shuleni. Wazazi kwa watoto tujilinde.
Naamka asubuhi nafanya tizi, nakula fiti na ishi fiti. Mtaani watu wanijua vifiti, kila nikipita wanadai fiti. Lunga na Rube, ishi fiti. Yande na Jenga, ishi fiti. Mukuru Tuguru, ishi fiti. Pumua fiti, ishi fiti. Wasafi maisha marefu. Wasafi maisha marefu. Pumua hewa safi. Pumua hewa safi we. Pumua hewa safi. Pumua hewa safi we.
You are 50. You are 50.
So I hope that gives you, am I back? Yeah. So I hope that gives you some idea of how powerful music is and how engaging it is and how it really sort of brings the attention. You know, it's a real crowd puller. And when we were working in Nairobi, carrying out these sensitization campaigns, we did some kind of street walks through the two communities. And really, you know, the music really does draw people to where we then do the puppet show to explain the sensitization process for the project and explain what the project's all about. And actually, it's been incredibly successful, the sensitization, because we've already recruited about 1,000 children to the Tupamui study. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process and the way that we developed the song. With Tupamui, we worked with a large group of about 20 lung health champions, 10 from each of the two communities that the study's taking place in. And when we were working on the music, we initially worked as a big group all together, and we had a kind of improvisation a cappella session where we used a Maasai chant as a kind of starting point, and we also worked with our breath and song and making sound, and that kind of gave us a start point for creating the song. Then we split off into the smaller group, the music group. So with our 20 lung health champions, all the champions had the opportunity to select which working group they wanted to join, whether it was visual arts, puppetry, music. So the music group, I think there were about 7 or 8 of us. And we went off and we sat under a beautiful tree in the playground of the primary school where we were working, and just worked very carefully on the song structure and the melody for the verses. The choral melody had been worked out with the larger group, and worked very carefully on the lyrics. And it was incredibly interesting working on the lyrics, because Swahili is a very poetic language, and the use of the words, the context of the words, and the actual poetry and the sound of the words and the meaning that they conveyed in that specific context was very important, and the subject of much debate, actually. And you can start to see how writing the song becomes a research tool in itself, because we were really discussing the issues around air pollution and how they affect your voice and how they affect your lungs. So we then actually, all the UK team all returned home again, and we left our music group to continue to develop the song and to go into the studio and record the song that you heard there. We worked with a local film company to produce the music video as well. Obviously, there were challenges when we were making the song. There were some competing egos with musicians, you know, they usually are. And we had some interesting conversations about ownership. Some people were concerned, you know, if there was any revenue generated by the music, how would that revenue be distributed? I mean, actually, I don't know if any of you know about the music business these days, but it's really quite difficult to make money out of music now, and you have to have many thousands of views on YouTube before you start generating any revenue. However, we've used something called the Creative Commons license to overcome this problem. We also use it for our digital stories, and we use the license number 4, which is a non-commercial, a non-derivatives license, which basically means people can share the material that we've created as long as they credit us and as long as they don't actually start, you know, interfering with any of the content of the music. One of the things that we did find was that some of the people in the music group hadn't, you know, they were singers in church, but they hadn't actually worked in a music studio before or written any songs before. And 2 or 3 of our members felt really empowered by the process of taking part in this songwriting. So yeah, that's what I want to say about that, and also to say thank you to all our lung health champions who took part in the project.
Great, thank you. Did anyone have any questions at that point about anything that you saw on the video, any of the images that you saw in the background, or about the process of creating the video, or how we used it? So you can either just unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can type it in the chat screen. I'll just give people a little bit more time to think. I know it's hard being put on the spot sometimes. Okay, so Charlotte asked the question, how did you go about recruiting the musicians?
So yeah, as I mentioned, the musicians the music group kind of self-selected from the bigger group of lung health champions that we were working with. How we recruited those champions in the first place, the lung health champions from Makuru were originally worked with us as part of the AIR Network project. And again, that was, Sarah, I think you'll agree, it was quite an interesting process, wasn't it? That, you know, we had this, we scheduled this kind of consultation event, I think, with a certain few people in the community. And we ended up with quite a lot of more people just turning up. But we were very open to that as a group, weren't we?
Yeah, so I think what happened in the first instance is that Muungano, who are Slum Dwellers International in Kenya, they got in touch with SEI Africa and said, look, there's a real problem with air pollution in the informal settlement. Would you be able to help us do some research on it? So we had a little project with them before the Air Network project, where we had worked with 8 community members who carried air pollution sensors around on their backs, and so those people were some of the kind of core, if you like, of people that then, when we started the Air Network, who we invited to the first workshop, and exactly as Cressida said, then they invited their friends. So we actually kind of had a wider network. So we had sort of a mixture of school teachers, musicians, community health workers, youth activists on that team, but then it kind of like rolled out to a greater number of artists, kind of a bit organically, really, I would say.
Yeah, and then the people who elected to join the music group from within that bigger team, we had two members of the group who were the 2 male rappers in the video, are sort of semi-professional musicians in the community, but the other members of the music group aren't musicians, aren't professional musicians. And you know, Celestine, who's the lead female vocalist, just incredible voice, and she really got a lot out of the process, actually. And Bob as well, in the yellow t-shirt, he's a really upstanding community member. Again, he's very involved in local youth groups and the church, and yeah, they really kind of, something that we hadn't seen came out of our champions when we created the song.
Great, thanks Cressida. Cindy, did you want to talk a little bit more about the challenges that we experienced on the project?
Yeah, so I mean, the project was amazing. We spent 10 days working with the community, and the music and all the other art forms were very much led by the members of the community, and we let them come up with the lyrics, with the ideas, as Cressida had said. But then, of course, this was part of a scientific project, and it was run by the Kenya Medical Research Institute, so one of the most prestigious scientific institutes in Kenya, linked to the government. So obviously we had to make sure that what the messages that we were giving out within our song were scientifically correct and on point. So we did have to have a process once the community members came up with the lyrics and the song, to then kind of work with them and work with the scientific team to make sure that the messages that they were giving out were all appropriate to the project. And then the final thing was that what we wanted to do within the project was obviously to find out whether we had any impact in raising awareness of the study and of the problems of air pollution and lung health in Mukuru and Buruburu. And we set out with, or we came up with the champions, a sort of plan of how we might do this through interviews and through bean counting questionnaires and so on and so forth. And I think what we found with that, and we were also going to do some some vox pops, and we came up with a topic guide and so on and so forth. And I think we found that to be one of the most challenging aspects of the, most challenging and rewarding aspects of the project. So we tried this out, first of all, in December. And we had a big event where we played our music and did all our other activities and tried out the evaluation, realized that certain elements of it didn't work at all. So the second time we did it, which was the video that Cressida saw, showed you when we went out to the streets of Nairobi, we had worked with the champions to sort of reflect on what had gone wrong with the evaluation the first time, and then hone it down to something. Because I think the main thing was the first time everybody was really enthusiastic about what they wanted to do, and it became far too ambitious. So the second time we really stripped it back down to something that was manageable, and we collected the data, both quantitative and qualitative, about the impact and raising awareness of what people thought about our song and our other activities. And then again, we worked with the champions to actually put that together into a result. And Howard was one of those champions too. He might want to say something about the whole process because he was involved in it. I don't know whether that would be useful.
Yeah, Cindy putting me on the spot again.
Sorry.
Yeah, but just as Cindy has said, our initial evaluation data collection was quite ambitious, and we got a few problems with them. And even the process of collecting the data was a little bit problematic, but we were able to scale it down and fine-tune it on our later procession. The first one was on activity. It was a, I almost said a crusade, not a crusade, a rally of some sort, a musical extravaganza. That was the first time.
Yeah.
And we found out that the data collection had some issues. So during the processions later on in the project, we were able to scale down the data collection processes and even the data analysis. Yeah, and it was quite an engaging process, and I loved every bit of it. Yeah.
Great, thank you,
Howard.
Carla, you have a question.
I do, thanks. Howard, thank you so much for your input, and thank you for the presentation so far. I suppose my question is around the extent of the benefits and accrued and what comes out of the project. So, you know, the video is fantastic. It gives promotion, both it's a health promotion video, it also promotes the work of the singers and musicians. But, you know, there's this whole other back end of the scientific team. And so I suppose my question is, how is the, to be a hardcore nuts and bolts academic question, is how are the publications being shared and worked around? Which researchers are you working in that space? Because obviously the problem and the constant discussion here around international collaboration is where knowledge comes and where knowledge is accredited. So I'm just interested in how your team addressed that and spoke to that, and, you know, the researchers that you worked with to do, you know, to collect data and to publish. So how is the I suppose, how are you addressing those kind of knowledge imbalances that are inherent in, you know, those who have funding and those who are seeking funding, and that kind of ongoing discussion about where knowledge power lies. So I just wondered how your team had addressed that. Thanks.
Shall I start off? And I think the thing, and then guys just come in. But I think that it's kind of watch and see, because actually we started all of this work and all of the sensitization stuff happened, and then COVID hit. So we've basically entirely stopped because the schools. So the idea was that we did sensitization and then we went into the schools and actually conducted this spirometry. So the children have to breathe into a spirometry thing, and that's all kind of entirely stopped, and we still haven't opened that back up again. So we haven't started doing publication. We haven't got any data coming out of the project yet, but certainly that is on our agenda for discussing with the project team kind of what happens next. And I would say, so our learnings from the AIR network, which also we haven't published in, mainly because I've had, I think, is it maybe 1 or 2 periods of maternity leave since that project happened. So we still haven't published anything from that, but we very much felt that the way to go about that was that if you had been an active contributor in writing the actual documents, the actual paper, that you would get authorship, but actually everybody else would get acknowledgements. And that's because we felt that actually writing a paper is a very it's a very kind of complex academic skill. It requires a lot of time, and it requires a lot of, you know, which actually you can't necessarily, we couldn't pay people to do. So actually we felt it was kind of fairer to have, you know, so that people were actually kind of only getting authorship if they're actually being able to be paid to do so, which is a really big problem, is that after a grant ends, you can't actually pay people anymore. I mean, and paying participants has been a problem for all of us on all of our projects so far. You know, getting the UK universities to try and pay our community co-researchers has been massively challenging, hasn't it, through all of the processes. So that's sort of, I hear your question and I haven't answered it, but hopefully we will try to do that the best we can as we go forward.
I think it's a part of an ongoing discussion here as well. That's why I'm kind of interested in how projects are managing in different spaces, because it's this kind of things, the bureaucracies of universities, and yet the assumption that people must provide labor, and how you get around these behemoth bureaucratic process. Thank you.
It's a massive challenge. Okay, so we have about 9 minutes left of the session. What we're going to do is we are going to show, I've seen Megan has just recently reappeared. We are going to show the story that Megan has been busy creating while we've been watching music videos. But just before we do that, I wanted everybody to have the chance to reflect on how you either have in the past or could in the future use creative methods to explore the issues of air pollution or lung health. So either you can unmute yourself and say something, or you can type it in the chat box. So how have you, or could you use creative methods in your work to explore air pollution or lung health?
Can I go?
Go, Howard. Yes, please.
Yeah. From a personal perspective, I think every day I keep on falling in love with this application called WeVideo, and I think I am a teacher by profession, and it would make so much sense if I could be able to create a story and visualize the effect of air pollution and present a digital story to my students about how air pollution has been affecting our community. And daily, as I am getting involved in the WeVideo and creating stories, I get to create more stories to try to educate my learners about different areas of now you've asked about air pollution, but I use WeVideo for more than just air pollution, even just teaching my my students in different skills. So the way video application really helps a lot in creating something that is manageable for my students, for them to understand what I want to say. Yeah, so for air pollution, it can really work too.
Can I just say something briefly? For me, Cressida raised a point about the creation of the video or the story being a really important data collection opportunity as people discuss their ideas and come to decisions around what they're going to actually include. And for me, that's one of the most exciting things about using creative methods in air pollution and in other types of health research. There's a challenge with that though, and the challenge is how do you actually capture that and use it? But for me, that's something that I really want to explore much more going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Did anyone else have anything they would like to say about how they might use these kind of methods?
I say earlier on, Megan had said that WeVideo was he had a subscription through the university. So I'd like to know how much that costs, because it would be a very interesting tool to use with students, especially because I teach medical anthropology, and so around issues about health, the environment, and bodies.
I don't have one through the university, but you can purchase a license. It's relatively affordable compared to other types of software. It's not like getting a subscription to NVivo or something like this. I'll send you the link, Nawazi. There's different types of licenses, and education licenses are quite kind of economical.
Yeah, and there are some free trials available as well.
Great. Thank you. Neil, did you have a comment?
Yeah, it was more of a comment. I've used photography both in terms of looking at nuclear power and in a bit of kind of shameless self-promotion. I've got a kind of online exhibition at the moment as part of this symposium. And I've also used photography to look at air quality issues and just wider environmental issues around coal mining and coal power stations in South Africa. And I found it an incredibly powerful tool. But I'm also aware that of the power of video, and it's something I've been slightly nervous to get into because I kind of pigeonholed myself as a photographer. So it's actually fascinating to see, okay, very simplistic what we did, but fascinating to see how you can actually put something together. And I think it's important for people to realize that cell phones can record fantastic video. They really can. You don't need a lot of expensive gear. I think that's an important thing to acknowledge as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say that so as part of the workshop materials on our page, you'll be able to see some links to some cell films that we've made as part of another project. So yeah, have a look at those too. And if there's any extra information you want, if you just want to email Cressida, and it's just her first name dot last name at portsmouth.ac.uk, and she'll be able to give you access to some of the other cell film work that we've done, because similarly we found that the kind of digital stories on mobile phones has been great. Now, so
big
Megan,
reveal.
Yeah, the big reveal.
So I'm going to ask Cressida to play it for me. So because I don't, you won't be able to hear it if I do so. So Cressida, just in the exports section, you should see a video called Inhale, Exhale.
You're muted, Cressida. And just to say that whilst we're just getting this going, I really hope the poll is now working. So if you could fill in the poll, that would be great.
Cressida, do you see it? You'll have to share.
Yeah. This one?
Hold on. Yeah, and then you'll maximize it. Like once you double click on it, there'll be an option. Okay, it's quite big. That's good.
Yeah,
you can just play it. Mm-hmm.
Smoke fills the air as I drive through morning traffic, past the bonfires on the way to town. I roll up my windows to block out the dirty stench filling my nose.
It was a wonderful summer morning. A dead truck stops in front of me. I choke on a palatable thick stench. I need air.
During winter in Johannesburg, everything burns. The fields, the factories, the power plants, makeshift fireplaces, expensive fireplaces, stoves, braais. It is so bad I can see what I breathe in, and it stays in my lungs.
I have such strong memories of my family seated around a table laden with food. We were fortunate. We had food and particularly meat. They laughed and talked, but I increasingly felt choked and suffocated as I became aware of the breathlessness being caused by the killing and eating of other beings and the impact of that production on the air around all of us.
Vehicle exhaust fumes are the worst for me. They cause me to sneeze uncontrollably and cough constantly.
In 2016, I went on a toxic tour of the coal mines and coal burning power stations of Mpumalanga. By the end of the day, my throat was raw and each breath seemed to burn.
When I walk in the city and people are smoking and the car fumes are all around, I struggle to breathe. My nose wrinkles and I start coughing.
I'm walking through Makuru, Nairobi, past the paint factory. Suddenly I'm hit by the fumes. They get not only into my lungs, but my eyes, up my nose, and it even felt as if they were in my brain. I felt poisoned.
I was walking along the canal and saw a cloud of smoke ahead. Walking into the smoke, I gagged. The acrid plastic burnt the back of my throat.
Alrighty.
Wow,
So-
Megan, you superstar.
Amazing.
Obviously, you can see how it was in the time that I had, about a half an hour. I couldn't kind of spend a long time looking at the images you sourced. So I had to kind of quickly find things to put in. Obviously, it's not enough time to do a proper edit. And you can see as well, using stock images, you know, doesn't always represent, you know, the look and the feel. I mean, a traffic jam in New York City is not like a traffic jam in Johannesburg or whatever. So, I mean, these digital stories are always improved through, you know, collection and taking of photographs and videos. And like Neil mentioned, it's so easy to do these things on cell phones nowadays. But I enjoyed listening to all your voices, and I hope you did too.
Brilliant, thank you so much. So we don't have anything else to say from our perspective other than thank you all so much for your participation. It's been lovely to see you all, and as Megan says, to hear all your voices and see some of your images. Cressida has just put the link into the chat screen to our story. So you can go and have another look at it again. Carla, did you have something, or Charlotte, do you want to say something?
I'm going to say something on behalf of the Breath team.
Sorry.
And that is, sorry, let me just switch off my phone. And that is to talk about this afternoon and the sessions that we'll have this afternoon. We'll have two sessions. The first one is called, basically this afternoon sessions are around the environment and breathing. And the first section is called Exhalation, and that will have papers by Sean on breathing underwater, by Garrett on issues about environmental health related psychological distress. And Bianca Masugu will be talking around the film work that she does on TB. And later on at about 3 we're going to have a second session, which is called Gasping. And there we will have talks around mining, around health systems, and also the politics of respiration. And I hope that some of you will stay and join us for those 2 sessions this afternoon. And thank you very much for this exciting workshop. And yeah, it was really fun. And I look forward to us using kind of more digital storytelling methods and teaching our students to use this in the age of COVID.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. All the best.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank
Bye,
you so much.
Carla. Cheers.